Yo, 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 what's up, guys? Everything awesome, Celso 4 here. And today, it's kind of like a little bit special, but, I'll be talking about the Pokemon, the movie I Choose You. Now, I've seen the movie, and so, I'll be telling you guys what happened in the movie. You don't want to get spoiled, well, I suggest, you don't watch the video because then you'll get spoiled. Now, I did watch the movie and it was on TV. They gave it on TV on Disney XD. So, for those who watched it, yeah, it was kind of like a good movie. And for those who didn't, well, I'm here to tell you guys what happened. Now, I took notes of the movie. Yeah, I took notes. I'm really used to taking notes on the movies like that because on school they ask us like, hey, let's watch a movie, but you have to take notes on it. So yeah, don't worry. I'm also doing for this to tell you guys. So if you're new to the channel, if you could subscribe, that would be awesome. And also like the video. But yeah. So yeah, I'm not good at explaining things, so you just have to go on with me. So yeah, let me turn to my notes. Okay, let's start. So the beginning of the movie, it's kind of like the first episode they gave, which is the first season, the first episode where Ash gets his Pokemon. Of course, he's really excited for the next day. It's the same thing that happens, just that a little bit more better. The animation is much better, and it looks much better. I have a water bottle just right here, so yeah. Oh, it's his bed. Okay, so of course Ash Ash is excited for his next day, which he has to pick between 3 Pokemon: Charmander, Squirtle, and Bulbasaur. And at first, he's watching TV. Now, the movie doesn't explain how his mom just comes into a room and puts a program. They show a Pokemon battle and they just skip to where he's sleeping. Now, he accidentally breaks his clock, which I think that's what causes him to get late to the Professor Oak's lab. He wakes up, he goes running, and when he gets to Professor Oak lab, he realizes that all 3 starters are gone. Of course, the only one left is Pikachu, which is not supposed to be it's not supposed to be a starter, but Professor Oak just gave it to him because why not? So Pikachu, as always, is mad at the beginning, zaps all of them. And yeah, that's mostly what happens. He gets Pikachu and he goes on his adventure. Now this time they changed it a little bit. He actually gets a rope and has to like I'm not sure how to say it, but has to it doesn't carry Pikachu, but just get the rope, just make him follow you on force. I'm not sure. I'm sure I'll explain it, but for those who saw the movie, yeah, you will know. But yeah. So yeah, he picks his Pokemon and he finally goes to an adventure. Now then, after that, he sees a Pidgey. And of course, he tries to catch it, but it breaks out of the Pokeball. And since Pikachu doesn't want to help, he's like, okay, fine, I'll do it on my own. I don't need your help and all that stuff. But he accidentally throws a rock to a Spearow. Now, I'm not sure why was he throwing to a rock. Like, Ash, use rock throw. Literally. You can hurt a Pokemon by throwing a rock. I mean, Pokemon battles are different. But, using a rock, that's kind of like Pokemon abuse, I should say. But yeah, we're not talking about that. But he accidentally hits a Spearow. And, of course, this time I'm not sure if this happened on the first episode. I've seen it, but I don't remember. The Spearow sees Pikachu laughing because, of course, Ash failed. And the Spearow thinks that Pikachu was the one that threw the rock. And he starts attacking him. But Pikachu does some Thunderbolt stuff and hits Spearow. Then he goes to a tree. And then after, of course, a whole gang of Spearows just follow Ash and Pikachu. Then you know the story. Pikachu and Ash run and run until they get tired. They're all dirty. They're like, really, like, they're hurt, they're tired and all stuff. So Ash trying to protect Pikachu, he tells them to go inside the Pokeball, but doesn't pay attention. It doesn't like Pikachu doesn't want to go inside the Pokeball, and of course he creates like a Super Saiyan move. I'm not sure if that's the Z move you get in also Sun Ultra Moon, the 10 million Thunderbolt. No, like Lightning Thunderbolt. I'm not sure if that's what's called, but yeah. If you've seen the first episode, you know that Pikachu does like a super insane move and then scares all this Spearows away. Okay. After that, they wake up, because it's a super move and then Pikachu lost a lot of power using that. Ash also got hit by it, so they wake up, and that's when they meet Ho. He flies on top of him, and as you can see from the picture, he drops a rainbow feather. Okay? And then after that, from there, Ash is just like, hey Pikachu, let's go on our adventure and all stuff. They didn't show him with like taking the bike or anything. This time they changed a little bit. But yeah, then the intro just rolls, and all stuff. Also, I cannot show anything because then I might get copyrighted. So I'm just telling you guys the story. But yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, then they just rolled the intro. They actually made a mix of the new. They gave a new, Gotta Catch 'Em All, music. So yeah, it's really cool. I love that. Then after that, they show how Ash and Pikachu work together to catch a Caterpie and also fight some trainers. And yeah, from there they skip to him getting his third badge, and that's when we know he already fought 2 gyms plus the one he won till right now. That means, and he also says that, oh, this is gonna be my third badge. Okay. So he gets his third badge and then goes to the Pokemon Center. Then in the Pokemon Center, he's just right there talking with his mom, which his mom is like really hilarious. He's like, oh, you finally decide to call me after a lot and all stuff. It's really hilarious. I was laughing. But then while he's right there in the Pokemon Center, a guy just goes in and needs help because his Pokemon, I'm not sure what Pokemon it was, got really hurt fighting an Entei. The trainer actually thought it could catch it, but the Pokemon got hurt. And so all the people in the Pokemon Center are like, oh my god, an Entei? Is it still right here? I'm gonna go catch it, And so Ash, thinking he could catch it with a Pokeball, I know, right? He still goes outside, tries to catch it, and he meets it. And I'm not sure if I'm saying this correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong. But he meets a trainer called Sussy. I think that's her name. I'm not sure. She's a girl. So she's the new girl. Let me actually look it up in Google. Yeah, so that's her name, Sussy. I'm not sure if I'm playing it correctly. I'm like saying it right, but this is the girl, whose name is Sussy. And while he's also there, he meets this guy, which is a Lucario trainer, and also wants to become a doctor. His name is Sorrel. I think that's his name, Sorrel. I think that's the name. And yeah, we'll talk about Marshadow a little bit later. But yeah, so they're in the forest, trying to catch Entei. But Entei, is really mad and kind of like hits their Pokemon. Sussy has a Piplup and Sorrel has a Lucario, okay? And we'll talk about that a little bit later. And all stuff. And then Sorrel just comes, which was also in the Pokemon Center, just comes and, helps them fight Entei and all stuff. But then after that, I'm not sure what happened next. But I guess Sussy and Ash get into a fight, because they're like saying, oh, who are you? I came first to catch him and all stuff. And then they just get into a battle, I think, to prove who's the strongest. So it's Ash versus Sussy, Pikachu versus Piplup. But while they're battling, for accident, they wake up in Onix and they run away from it. And also, I'm not sure if I talked to this, but Team Rocket was also in the movie. They didn't show up a lot of times, but they did follow Ash, like around and all that stuff. So they did follow Ash. They didn't get a lot of screen time. They were in the Pokemon Center, and when they heard about Entei, they wanted to catch it. They did get some funny moments, so yeah. But yeah, so they run away from the okay, so they run away from the Onyx, Then after that, Ash wants to commit suicide. I'm just kidding. He literally stands in front of Onyx and says, "I'm sorry, for startling you and all stuff." And then just Onyx leaves, says sorry and all stuff. Then after that, it starts raining. And after they're like, okay, let's go to a cave, But while they're going to a cave, Ash sees a Charmander, sitting all alone right there on the rain. Alone, sad, sitting under the rain. And so they go to Charmander. And then after that, they're like, oh, what's up, buddy? Why are you alone? Where's your trainer? But then this trainer comes, and his name is Cross. His trainer comes. And this part really makes me mad, but also makes me sad. The way Charmander loves his trainer. So Charmander sees his trainer, and then he's like, Charmander, And then after, well, not the trainer. The trainer didn't say that, but Charmander said, because they repeat their name. So he runs up to the trainer, or should I say Cross. And then Cross is like, he owns a Midnight Lycanroc and also a, Incineroar. So he comes from the Alola region, we know that. But then after that, literally, Cross kicks Charmander. And he's like, oh, you're still here. And so that kind of got me mad, But it's also sad how they just treat Charmander really bad. And so Cross decides not to take care of Charmander because it's weak, he thinks it's weak and all stuff. He doesn't like him, and other stuff happens, and so he just leaves, He also gets hit by Lycanroc Ash because he's like, hey, you don't leave anywhere. He touches him in the shoulder, and Lycanroc is just there to protect his trainer. But yeah, they leave and they see that Charmander's tail is dying, and I'm not sure if you know this, but if you leave Charmander or Charizard or Charmeleon under the rain, or like under the water, or if it gets hit by water on his tail, if the flame from the tail dies, the Pokemon also dies. So that's a little bit, kind of scary. Okay, so they go running to a cave and they meet Sorrel again, which take care of Charmander. And yeah, they're just talking right there. Entei comes also in with some other Pokemon. And yeah, they're just right there. So Entei comes inside the cave, with some other Pokemon. They're surprised that Entei's right there. And they just go to sleep, Entei and the other ones. But yeah, here is some really good information. So yeah, let me drink some water. Okay, so let's recap a little bit. They meet a Charmander. The trainer from Charmander doesn't like him. His name is Cross. They leave him alone. In the rain, Ash decides to take care of Charmander. That way it cannot die. He takes him to a cave. Also, Sussy following him. And when they go inside the cave, they meet Sorrel inside. Sorrel actually is like, you left them under the rain, but then Sussy explains that it's not his Pokemon. They just found him. But yeah. So they take care of Charmander. Actually, Sorrel takes care of Charmander because he wants to be a a doctor, Pokemon doctor when he grows up. So yeah. He takes care of Charmander, and that's when Entei and some other Pokemon enter the cave. And yeah, they just stay there. But then after that, they just start talking about Sorrel explains how, because since Entei is right there, they just explain how Ho-Oh created the 3 legendary dogs, which is Raikou, Suicune, and Entei, because they're like saying, long time ago, there was this town, but then on a tower, I forgot what the tower is called, it burned down and 3 dogs were right there. And so I'm not sure if the dogs were trying to help people, but then Ho came and gave birth to those dogs and turned them into Entei, Suicune, and Raikou. If I'm not mistaken, Entei is the fire that caused the tower to burn. Raikou is the thunder from the sky, and Suicune is the water that burned, that you know stop the fire. If I'm not mistaken, and I did get it right, damn, I got 100% on the quiz. But yeah, then after that, Ash is like, oh, hey guys, I saw Ho. He gave me this feather, rainbow feather. And then after that, and then Soro's like, whoa, he gave you his feather. I've heard that Ho gives a people feather when it likes you. So let's say you're walking down the street, you see a Ho, and then after that a feather drops. That means that the Ho likes you. Okay, so yeah, that's a good thing. And then here's the good thing that happens behind Entei's shadow. You can see Marshadow listening to their conversation. And so, yeah, Marshadow is not a bad guy. You can think he's a bad guy because he's a shadow, supposedly. And from the trailers, you can see him as a bad guy. But technically, he's a bad guy and he's not a bad guy. So, yeah, I'm not sure how that works, but we'll talk about that later. Okay, so then after that, Soro is like, hey, Ash, with that rainbow feather, they said that when they give you that, it likes you, but you also have to seek out Ho. And, you need to find him. Look for him. And then after that, supposedly, I'm not sure how it goes, but the feather glows, and then it tells you where to go. It makes a rainbow, and then, it points where to go. So, yeah. But that happens in the morning. In the morning, Charmander wakes up all good, and he decides to join Ash's team. So, yeah, that's really good. Yeah. Then after that, they just show how Ash wants to go to a mountain because that's where the feather is supposed to go. It's supposed to go into like a pillar of rocks. And then once you put it there, it can summon Ho-Oh, and then, you can have a battle with it. And that's what Ash does, of course. Okay, but then they just show, they show you how the feather glows and you need to go to a mountain. And then they just show how Soro, Suzy, and Ash have to travel. And then they just show how Caterpie evolves into Metapod, and Charmander evolves into Charmeleon. Okay, then after that, after it was really quick, they passed it. It was really quick that they passed it. And then after that, in the night, after all of that stuff happened, Suzy is just looking at her pictures on her phone. Sorry about that. Apparently, there's phones in Pokemon. I'm just kidding. Nah. Of course, there's phones. Duh. But yeah, she's just looking at pictures she has taken with Ash, Sorrel, in some cities. And there's also a dark city, which I think it's like appeared in red, blue, and all stuff. I've never played red, blue, and green, or yellow, so I don't know about that stuff. But yeah, yeah, she's looking at her picture, and that's when I'm like, oh damn, she likes Ash, but I don't think she does. They never confirmed that in the movie, so yeah. And then there's this one picture that got my eye. She's like going around, and then there's a picture of her mom. Now the mom has a big Empoleon, and she's taking care of a Piplup. Empoleon is the final evolution of Piplup, and so she has yellow hair. They don't show her face, and she has a black, a black kind of dress. And I'm like, that's Cynthia. Literally, that's Cynthia, okay? But we will talk about that, and all stuff. Then, supposedly, she remembers something from her mother or something like that. And then that's when Suicune appears, it's just drinking water from the lake. And they meet eye to eye, what's it called? Suzy and Suicune. They just meet, and Suicune leaves, Now, in the morning, what's it called? Now, in the morning, this is some interesting stuff, Suzy is like, hey guys, I met Suicune in the morning, I mean in the night, and all stuff. And then I'm not sure what happens or what she says, no, what they ask her, but she's like, hey, my mother is a really really famous trainer where I come from. Now, she has a Piplup. And where does Piplup come from? Sinnoh. What? And then yellow hair, black dress. Who dresses up like that? I mean, everybody can dress up like that, but I mean, who mostly dress up like that? Cynthia. Then, who's a famous trainer in Sinnoh? You, the player, of course, Zoe. No, but Cynthia, of course, she's the champion. And so, they later reveal, spoilers, they later reveal that Suzy is the daughter of Cynthia. So yeah, okay, let's continue with the story. Then after that, after they explain that, they don't reveal in the movie that she is daughter of Cynthia. I just looked that up on Google. I'm like, is Suzy daughter of Cynthia? And it just pops out. So yeah, I'm really mad that they did not reveal on the movie. But I mean, that's some good stuff because then people can make theories and then bam, find out. But yeah, then they get to a Pokemon Center where Sorrel finds a book that talks about Ho and how when a dark heart, like somebody with a pure dark heart, it's like he's evil. When he touches the feather loses its color. Well, once a good person touches the feather, the color stays the same and it's a rainbow. So yeah, and then after that, also Marshadow was listening to everything right there. And yeah, that's mostly what happens, and also Cross is following them since they met, and Cross is listening to what the feather can do. Okay, so let's speed it up a little bit. We're almost done, so yeah. And then after that, Cross is listening, Marshallow's listening. Then Cross just comes out of nowhere and says, hey, let's have a battle. You, me, Incineroar versus Charmeleon. Then after that, Cross makes fun of it because Charmeleon evolved. But yeah, at the end, Cross wins. I did not know this about Incineroar, but supposedly in the movie, Incineroar takes a lot of damage, but that damage, it turns it into power, and then he's powerful. But yeah, Cross wins. Then Ash runs away because he lost, Ash, dude. That's Ash right there. He lost, he lost the battle. He runs away, and then he says some mean stuff like, why Charmeleon, why didn't you try your best, or why did I ever get Charmeleon, and then after that, says some bad stuff. Then Pikachu follows him into the forest, Sorrel and Suzy still looking for him, and then he's like, Pikachu would have won the battle, and then after that, he just says some mean stuff to Charmeleon, because Pikachu could won the battle and all stuff. And then after that, he's like, why did I ever pick you, Pikachu? I should have woke up early and gotten a Squirtle or Bulbasaur or anything like that. And it hurts Pikachu's feelings. Then he just goes, sits on a tree, he grabs the feather, and that's when the feather turns really dark. And so Ash was getting negative thoughts because, he lost the battle. How would you feel when you lose the battle? I sad or mad. So the feather turns dark, but you see Marshadow in the shadow of the tree. And then what he does is supposedly, I'm not sure, but in spirits Ash, I should say. And yeah. Then after that, Marshadow sends Ash to a world where there's no Pokemon, literally. That's how I feel. They literally send him to our world where there's no Pokemon. And so then after that, there, he realizes how he does need Pokemon, because then you can see Pikachu kind of like appearing there, chasing around him, And then he's like, we were best friends, And then he realizes how he does love Pikachu and he does love Pokemon. And then he wakes up, Pikachu is, aside him. That Marshadow is actually not bad, but in the little bit later he is bad. He sends him to a world where there's no Pokemon. And then after he realizes that he does love Pokemon and loves Pikachu. Okay, then after they're friends again, they meet each other, Sorrel and Suzy. And this is another dark part. They make a fire, in the middle of the forest. And and then Ash is like, "Hey guys, you look what happened. I went to a world where there's no Pokemon and all stuff." And he's like, "Glad that never happens." And then Sorrel's like, "Well, that can actually happen." And then he explains about his story that when he was little, his parents, I think, or him, owned a lottery. I think it was his parents owned a lottery. But one day Sorrel wanted to play like on the snow, and he ended up in a snowy forest. And then Lottery found him and then protected him, like just hug him. And the next day, I think it's the next day or like a couple of, hours later, the police, I should say, or, the paramedics found him, but the Lottery was frozen. Supposedly he's dead. And so it was really, really sad because you see Pokemon dead, and then after you just see Sorrel's expression, just like all sad and stuff. So I did cry right there, who wouldn't cry? No, just admit it. Come on, guys. Who wouldn't cry in that part? Because it's so sad to see a Pokemon die. Supposedly Pokemon's like a child game, and to see something die, it's really tragic. But yeah. And then after that, in the morning, supposedly, like they were talking and stuff, and Pikachu used Thunderbolt for accident and startled some Primeape. And then after that, Metapod just evolves into Butterfree. And then after that, here's another sad scene which everybody's mad about, like it's just really, really, really bad, really sad. Then after that, the rainbow feather, I'll explain it later. The rainbow feather glows, to the mountain where they're supposed to go. But a couple, like, minutes before, Butterfree met with a girl, Butterfree. And so, later, after the feather glow, they were walking. And then, they meet the same girl, Butterfree. And so, they have to... Ash was crying because he had to let Butterfree go. But it's kind of like a sad scene. Everybody cries in that scene because, Caterpie was like the first Pokemon he ever got? Well, the second Pokemon, he ever catched. But yeah, lets him go. Really sad. But after he lets him go, they meet Raikou, okay? Then after that, finally get to the good part, I know. Then after they climb out the mountain where they're supposed to go, and they meet a traveler called Bungie. He's kind of like an elderly man, chubby guy, who tells them that all the Pokemon in the mountain are mad because Ho wouldn't share his power with them. Okay, and then he explains how Bungie has been looking for Ho the past 20 years, and that the feather made it possible for him to encounter all three legendary dogs, Entei, Raikou, and Suicune. So that made it possible for him to encounter all the legendary dogs. And then after that, of course, Ho created them, so how wouldn't it be possible? And then after that, I'm not sure how they get into this, but Bungie is like, "Oh, so you have the feather. Well, haven't you seen like a mysterious shadow creature?" And then after he's like, "Oh yeah, I've seen him." He's like, "Oh." Bungie explains how Marshadow is actually a guide for every person who gets a feather. So Marshadow, sorry about that. Marshadow isn't the bad guy here, but he's kind of like a guide, which prevents you from turning into bad. Look what he did to Ash when he was turning kind of like an evil person. He took him to a world where there was no Pokemon to realize that he loves his Pikachu. Never can leave his Pikachu. And so that's what Marshadow does. Marshadow's the guide. And then after that, when the feather loses color, he tries to change it back. Okay, so once they get to the top, Bungie follows them. So it's Suzy, Sorrel, Bungie, and Ash going to the top. And then after that, once they get to the top, they have to place the feather on a rock pedestal. But then Cross stops them, which, as I said, Cross has been, right there following them. And that's when Marshadow appears. But Marshadow doesn't attack anybody. He's just there to observe the fight between Cross and Ash, because Cross wants to be the hero. There's also, I forgot to mention this. The ones that have the rainbow feather, they call them the rainbow hero. Okay, so just to clear that out, Cross said, but I saw, how didn't I get a feather? I want to be the rainbow hero. Then after that, Ash this time wins. His Charizard evolves, and it's Incineroar versus Charizard. Charizard wins, but then Cross is like, I won't let you put it into the rock thingies. Cross takes the feather, puts it into the rock, but when he puts it into the rocks, the feather loses its color. Now, it loses its color because Cross is kind of like an evil person. Look what he did. He literally left a Pokemon outside. He wants to meet Ho-Oh, on Force without him being the rainbow hero. And then after that, it loses its color. And that's when Marshadow steps in. But I'm not sure how this happens or anything. I'm not sure Marshadow was evil or anything. But when Marshadow tries to take the feather, he takes it out. But the evil, this is what I'm thinking, okay? Correct me if I'm wrong. But the evil consumes him and turns him evil. And that's when he inspirits all the Pokemon that are in the mountain, except the trainer's Pokemon, and then makes them fight with the humans. Then after Marshadow's now the bad guy from there, Cross realizes what he's done, and then after that, he tries to help the heroes, Suzy, Sorrel, and the other ones. And then Marshadow, we later know that Marshadow wants to get rid of all the humans, that are in the mountain, Not sure why. He turns everybody evil, tries to turn all the trainers evil, and all that stuff. We're almost done. Okay, so yeah, 32 minutes. Thank you guys for those who are being with me. I know it's a lot, but it's a good movie. I'll probably do a review of it, like what I think it was good and all that stuff. But yeah, Ash tries to take the wind back, but gets in a fight with Marshadow. Marshadow almost defeated Pikachu, but Pikachu was weak and Ash tried to help him. But Ash got attacked by all the Pokemon, His Cross's Lycanroc also got turned evil, but then Cross is like, remember me, remember when we first met, and then Lycanroc now it turns good and helps everybody else, fight the Pokemon. Ash tries to get to help Pikachu, but gets attacked. Then after that, both weak, Ash tells Pikachu to go inside his ball because, the Pokemon are gathering a bunch of moves. Ash could also die right here. But Pikachu doesn't want to go inside his ball. They attack them again. And this is a good part. Like, literally, I hope I can have a scene for this. But I think there's a scene in YouTube. Ash is like, Pikachu, why won't you go inside your Pokeball? And then Pikachu actually talks. He's like, it's because I always wanted to be with you. Now, I've seen the part when they say that in the theaters, and everybody's like, expressions like, whoa. But people have been saying that might be, in Ash's mind, or maybe Pikachu, used telekinesis, and all stuff. But then after that, Ash has no choice. He puts Pikachu inside the ball. and Ash takes all the hits. Then supposedly Ash dies, and then after that Pikachu comes out with the ball, and then it's crying and all that stuff. Then Ash is transported to another place, supposedly heaven, where he's like running, chasing after Pikachu. Pikachu, you can barely see him, and he's like, we used to run like this all the time. I'm not sure how he gets revived. It's not like in the first movie where all the Pokemon cry, This time he actually disappears. And then out of nowhere, a little bit like sparkling thingy just appears. And that's where Ash comes back, I'm not sure how that happens. Maybe he realizes that he has to stay in the Pokemon world, And yeah, a theory, maybe that's why he's still, 10. Maybe people are saying that because he got the feather, Ho-Oh grants like eternal life. As you can see in each movie, when he dies, he comes back. So yeah, maybe because he was once the rainbow hero, he can come back to life, and so he comes back. And then that's where Marshadow, I'm not sure what happens, but the rainbow wing disappears, fades away. Marshadow leaves, other Pokemon come back to their normal thing. But then after that, supposedly the wing comes back into Ash's hands. He puts it on the rock, and then after that, he summons Ho-Oh, and they have a battle. We never know who won, but they do have a battle. We know that they do have a battle, but we don't know if Ash caught the Ho-Oh. Pikachu won. Probably Ho-Oh won. Who never knows. Then they just get to the end where Suzy, Sorrel, they're like, okay, bye, I gotta go into my own separate ways. Probably won't meet back, again. And then after that, they just go into their own separate ways. And then after that, Ash just runs with Pikachu. And that's the end, A really sad ending because you see everybody depart. That's how everybody felt when Brock, Misty, and the other ones left. And then, talking about Bungie. Yeah, that's his name. He's like shouting over there in the mountain. He's like, well, really soon there's gonna be another rainbow hero. So that means that everyone, there's one chosen person, and after that chosen person completes their quest, the rainbow feather goes to another person who has to do it again and again and again, and those people get eternal life. Who knows? Maybe they have to complete their quest, until they finally die. But yeah, that's the end. And thank you guys for watching this 40-minute video. I know no music or anything. Sorry, guys. I'll probably make it a little bit much better next time. I'll try to tell me in the comments down below if you want me to do a review of the movie. Not again 40 minutes, but tell you guys what I love from the movie, what I didn't like from the movie, what I hope to see in the movie, and some other cool theories, Pretty soon in my channel, I'll be making theory videos, like why Ash didn't win the league. Did Ash win the league, or other cool stuff I have planned. So stay tuned for that. So if you want to see those type of videos, subscribe, like, comment, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.